Hi there, I'm Ani Anderson, co-founder of the Somatic Coaching Academy. I am joined by my other co-founder and the director of education,
Ryan Traskos.
Hi there.
Hey.
We're so excited that you've decided to join us for the #1 way to gain and retain clients, even more clients, during a recession. We're hearing it all over the place.
Yep.
It's all over social media. The recession is coming. What are we going to do? And people are starting to strategize. We want to bring you this information so that you can do that too.
Right. And even before the idea of a recession, just the idea of a recession is freaking people out.
Yeah.
So whether a recession manifests or doesn't manifest, people are still freaking out. So we're either freaking out without a recession, or we're freaking out on the cusp of a recession, or we're freaking out with a recession.
With a recession.
But the fact is that no matter what happens, people are freaking out.
And people are, we don't have to tell you, we're stressed beyond belief already. People are stressed and anxious. The hangover from the pandemic, recent political stuff, all the things that we see in the news. I don't think those things are necessarily going to get any better. And I'm not a pessimist, by the way. It's just like, let's look at what's going on. So helping you to really protect your business by gaining and retaining clients, because it can feel scary sometimes. There's just so much going on. People are really squirrely. So to start the conversation, let's talk about some of the things that we're seeing right now. The top 3 things that business owners, coaches, therapists, consultants, experts are usually do when a recession hits. So the things that people usually do when a recession hits. The first thing we see people do is they stop investing in themselves and their business. And this can be really dangerous. One kind of obvious thing is you stop your skill growth. So there's skills that I'm sure you have invested plenty in yourself and your business, and you've gained skills that help you to continue to grow and evolve. People stop doing that in a recession. But one of the things I think that comes up that's even more dangerous than that is when we invest in ourselves and our businesses, we put ourselves in relationship with communities that provide us with opportunity.
Yeah, so really what you're saying, Annie, is we stop investing and then all of a sudden we feel like we're all alone. Like we kind of pull back like the turtle into the shell, because we're really trying to save ourselves or save what we have. And we end up with this really that lack mindset. But 2 things happen. We actually constrict our growth and we're alone.
Yeah, and the thing is we know that relationships bring opportunity, but the investing that we do as business owners, it's like a side effect really of the investments is the communities that we put ourselves in. If we're not putting ourselves in communities through investment, we're literally cutting ourselves off.
Yeah, well, exactly, because opportunities come through people.
Exactly.
Right, opportunities come through people. They may come through animals if you work with animals, but where else would they come through, right? Could they come through plants? I guess, but you're still selling your plants to people, right? Do you see that? You get really tangled up in here. They come through people.
Money comes through people.
Yeah, opportunities come through people.
And of course, the opportunities open us up for more of that revenue generation that we really want to see. And so to your point about scarcity, the other thing that it does when we don't invest in ourselves and our business and we cut ourselves off from that is we're actually putting ourselves in a scarcity mindset. And so this is not a lesson on the natural laws, but just super quickly, you really are either in an abundant mindset or a scarcity mindset at any moment. And so when you stop investing, which by the way is what you do not want your ideal clients to do. You don't want them to stop investing, but we stop investing as business owners. And that puts us on the track of scarcity mindset when we do that.
Yeah, it's funny. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was at an event and I was listening to a financial advisor on it. And what the financial advisor was saying, it was right after the interest rates went up. And she said, the crazy thing is I work in a business where when everything goes on sale, people don't buy.
Oh, that's so
the market, when the
funny.
market goes down, people are like calling me, oh my God, should I sell? She's like, no, you should be buying right now. You should be buying. But she said 99% of people freak out when stuff gets rocky, and they completely sell away their life savings because they're not following that natural law of that when things contract, we need to expand.
Right.
And so during a recession, you're going to see a lot of people getting nervous, freaking out, and contracting, contracting their spending, contracting into their little holes and hovels, and buying into the lack mindset, and it's not the right time, and we don't have the money, and all that kind of stuff. And those are the people it's going to take way longer for them to recover after the recession than the people who expand during a recession and buy when the prices are, or buy when the at the bottom of the dip, buy in the bear market.
That's so true, because you're cutting off your momentum. So you have a certain amount of momentum, and then you're stopping it, and then you have to overcome that inertia to get yourself back in momentum. You really are putting yourself back. So that's the number one thing that we see people doing during a recession. The next thing is that people are selling to folks that they know very well they shouldn't be selling to. And the thing is, you think that it's a good idea at the time. But what happens, the problem with this is you sell people into your programs or your services, and then they become a real drag. They're hard to work with and things like that. And it really drags your energy. It drains your energy. It drains your confidence, your momentum. It puts a halt on things. And so it seems like a good idea at the time, but it can really be a bad idea.
And it can co-opt a lot of your time, by the way, managing people that are probably not the best fit anyway. And all that time co-option takes your capacity away from interacting and having relationships with people that would be really great clients. And in great rooms and great opportunities, sort of thing. So every time we say yes to something of a lower nature, we're saying no to something of a higher nature in a way.
So watch yourself. So two things now. Watch yourself if you're pulling back on your investments for yourself and your business. Watch yourself if you start trying to sell less than ideal clients. So the third thing that we see people doing is getting emotionally wrapped up in people's resistance to buy, or the resistance that comes up during their programming. So getting emotionally wrapped up with people's stuff, their drama, their issues, whatever is happening. So this shows up in a few really distinct ways. So one way it shows up, and this is how you'll know that you're getting emotionally wrapped up. You'll know that you're getting emotionally wrapped up if you find yourself talking to your partner, your friends, your colleagues about how difficult so-and-so is.
Right. Yeah. And so wrapped up in the person's stuff, and just like we said before, it might not have been a good match to begin with. So now it's a double whammy. Right. So you're not only realizing your energy is being drawn down into somebody that isn't your great match, and then we're complaining about them.
We see this all the time, by the way, and we're bringing this up really specifically because we want you to be able to watch, like the next time you see yourself complaining about so-and-so to your friend or your colleague or your spouse or whatever, go, oh, I'm doing the thing. I'm getting emotionally wrapped up in people's stuff. So watch that one. The next way this goes, and it's a little bit of the opposite, you can go into super fix-it mode and you find yourself really over delivering.
Again, it can happen when we start to get needy and we start to really get nervous about our own financial business, income, all those kinds of things. And so that neediness is expressed by going way overboard, right? Over delivering, overdoing, and we just kind of make a mess of it.
So you'll know this one if you'll literally say, oh my God, I'm over delivering. You'll find yourself tired. You'll start saying things like, why did I even do this in the first place? Or, God forbid, and it happens to all of us at some point, like, why did I even, start my own thing? Which is a shame.
One of my favorite ones there too is sending an email to somebody or a text message to somebody and being like, have they gotten back to me yet? Got back. I said something. Are they going to agree? Is it not going to be right? It was the right thing I said. They haven't gotten back to me yet. I wonder what they're thinking. Oh my God, are they going to say no? Are they going to leave? Are they not going to pay me this month? Right. Do you know what I mean? So that's a part of that going to fix it mode, that over compensation mode. We start getting wrapped up in what the other person has going on beyond really our professional capacities and capabilities to serve them.
So you start to believe your client's stuff. You start to believe their objections, that there's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough connections, there's not enough. You start to believe it. And you'll find yourself going like, maybe they're right. Or you'll notice that you're doing those things in your head. It's really quite insidious. So, you got to watch yourself on this one. But I think the thing you can start to catch is, again, some of this, like, why did I even get started in this energy? But also lack of momentum, energy drain is a huge one, a lack of confidence.
Yeah. So you have to be careful if you're listening to someone's resistance, objections, and then you kind of mutter to yourself, yeah, that's where I am too.
Yeah, right.
Oh, be careful. Yeah, out of alignment with the natural laws.
Here's another one. You're not getting the case studies and testimonials that you really want. So you're going through the engagements, but at the end, they're not really like, yes, so that you're getting emotionally wrapped up in people's stuff in some capacity when you get to the end and you're not really getting those just knockout case studies and testimonials from people, which, by the way, this is about gaining and retaining clients. Retaining clients is super amazingly awesome. If you've got great clients, keep those great clients. And one of the ways that you do that is through serving them really deeply. And those case studies and testimonials really prove that. Yep. The last one that happens, and again, you can catch this if it's happening for you, and it's a sign that you're emotionally wrapped up in your client's stuff, is you're just not signing people. You're just not signing people, or you're not retaining them.
Yeah.
So if that's happening with you, know that sometimes when that happens, people just go, why? But if you're willing to entertain that it does have something with what you're doing, you can then look and see, like, wow, is this part of me getting wrapped up in people's resistance, either to buy or to transform? And part of why I'm doing that is because, like Brian was saying, I'm contracting around this idea of the recession.
Right. Yeah. It's almost when we're in a really great place. I mean, so a lot of us can probably resonate with this when we're doing great work, we're feeling confident, we're feeling alive. We're literally like a magnet for people.
For sure.
Right? People are really attracted to us. And when we start to constrict and contract, then we become like the reverse magnet, and people like spin out of your orbit. They come in, touch base, they don't come back again. It's almost like we kind of become almost like a repulsive force.
And think about that from a standpoint of gaining and retaining clients during a recession. Yeah. If you see somebody in your orbit who is open and energized, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be around that person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even more magnetizing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So to be one of those people is really what we'd love for you to be able to do.
And I'm sure you want to make a big impact. You can make a big impact with people, even and especially during a recession. These are such great times to serve people. I didn't say great times. There's such great times to serve people and do really deep and meaningful work. And we want to help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you want to share a model?
Yeah, we're going to do a little bit of a reveal here.
Sure.
How to do this? Okay, cool. Well, we've prepared a whiteboard. Very simple whiteboard for you to share. So what I'd like you to think about are the 3 stages of a client engagement. Okay, 3 stages of a client engagement. And the 3 stages essentially are before, during, and after. Before, during, and after.
Before the engagement, during the engagement, after the engagement.
So we're going to start with after the engagement. We're going to start from the end. Start with the end in mind. If we have a good idea about where we'd like to end up, it's easier to get there.
Which is so interesting because we think of these things when we do things like setting goals or planning. Oftentimes we're thinking with the end in mind, but when we're thinking about gaining and retaining clients, oftentimes we don't. We're thinking about the before, like the getting the leads and
exactly right. We're like, thinking about, what do I need to do to get more leads? What do I need to do to get more people?
Oh my gosh.
Or do better marketing. I need marketing help. I need sales help.
We hear it constantly, and I'm sure you've probably also spent a bundle of money with different lead generation strategies and things like that, because that's where we think we need to look. We think we need to look at the marketing. But think about it for yourself. Anytime you do visioning or goal setting or whatever, you are thinking about the end first. Why don't we do that?
Yeah. So in our work, in our business, we think about how can we really serve people really, really well, so well, in fact, that they just love to learn how to use my pencil on the thing. They just love to resign with ease. They just say, oh my God, what do you have next? What's coming up? We want to keep working with you. We want to be here. So that's where we kind of start thinking about how do we create programs and engagements that are super, super fulfilling, and so fulfilling that people want more of them automatically.
I mean, that's the best case scenario, is that you
Yeah.
put something out and people sign up automatically, and they're people that you already know you love to work with.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So there's 4 basic ways that an engagement will end, okay? So it will typically end one way is people will resign, and it will resign with ease, and they want to be a part of whatever you have going on. Like that's ideal, right? I think that's where we all want to be. Now, another way that an engagement will end, it could also end with a really great testimonial, clients referring to you. And if you don't have a program that meets their need right now, they know where they can come back to. So like in my past work as a physical therapist, for instance, I might see somebody with back pain and we're done, their back pain's all better, send them back off into the world, but they're like, oh my God. So they send me their friends and their parents and their neighbors, and then they come back when they sprain their ankle.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a really good
right?
analogy.
So it could be that this one. So that's a really good second runner-up to
That's a win.
Resigning with ease, right? This is a win. Testimonials, referrals, and returning is also a win. Now, another way that engagements might end is that they finish and then the person just vanishes. So you spent a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 3 months or 6 months or years working with someone, and then when the work's over, they just poof, they go away. And you're like, what happened to them? You don't hear from them. Well, you don't call, you don't write. Right? I mean, they're just gone, poof. And then the last way is that you're fired. You don't even, at the end of the engagement, you don't even make it through the 3 months. Like it's a 3-month engagement. And after 2 months, either the client says, listen, I'm done. Like I can't stand what you're doing here. Like it's not working. Or you're like, hey, I can't help you anymore. Like it's not working. And one of you fires.
Yeah, it's either you're fired or
you're fired or you're fired. So somebody fires somebody. So this is the way that every engagement, if you really think about it, every engagement you've ever had with a client is going to end in one of these 4 ways. Either they resign, or testimonials, referrals, return, they finish and they just go away, or you're fired, sort of thing. And I think we would probably agree that we'd like to be here as our first option, and this as our close second option.
Absolutely, especially during a recession.
Yes, especially during a recession, when people are naturally contracting on their own decisions to engage in programs. So if you're having people end and they're just finishing and vanishing, or you're not completing programs with people, and by the way, the fired down here too, this could just be like natural attrition. You could be actually in an engagement with somebody and then they just disengage.
No,
right? So they're silently firing you at that point, right? It's like,
which also takes a lot
of energy sort of thing. So if you're having engagements finish with either finish and vanish or you're fired, like this is not a great place to be, not a healthy place to be for your business.
No.
So the question is how do we get here? How do we naturally have people end up in one of these 2 spots? Well, the secret to that is what happens during a program. So
I'm just noticing on your whiteboard here, Brian, that there's a commonality with all of the during.
What's that?
Resistance.
Right. There's, resistance. So here we are talking about what happens during any client engagement, especially one that has to do with growth or change, which so many of us really help people with. Right?
Everybody, yeah.
Right. So here's the 4 things that would typically happen during a client program, whether it's a day long, a week long, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. One option is that there's actually no resistance at all. So these clients are like, oh yes, absolutely. I have no problem doing that. They'll stand on their head, chew gum.
It's
and
like the yes,
dance
yes,
backwards,
yes
right? Yes,
training.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes, yes,
woohoo!
yes. So that could happen. Now, the other thing that can happen is that there's resistance comes up during the program and you help someone transform it successfully.
Right. So to me, as I hear you describe this, this is somebody was one way and then they're transformed on the other side.
Right. Yeah. They come out different at the end of the program. Okay. Now, another way is that resistance comes up and we like barely manage it. So something comes up and we're not transforming it. We're barely managing it.
Managed and transform are so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, either the person is one way and then they're changed, or they're actually, when you're managing resistance, they're not really
They're not changed.
They're not truly changed. They might have like figured out while they're working with you how maybe like a habit, you know, maybe we've done a little bit with a habit, but then as soon as they're done, they're going to go right back to what they did anyway.
Yeah. So just barely helping people manage just enough to basically get to the end of the program. Right. So you're basically like, oh my God, I can't wait till this. I just can help manage this. And I just keep it together just for the last 3 months sort of thing. And then the final category of the during is unmanageable resistance. So this is where someone's resistance comes up and you just can't manage it. It just doesn't, you just can't handle it.
It's like spilling all
you
over
just
the place.
really can't help them figure it out. It's out of control resistance sort of thing.
You're fired.
You're fired. Now, so typically, so you might see here that unmanageable resistance is usually going to end in either you're fired, or it might, if you're lucky, lucky, it may end in finish and vanish. Okay, if you're lucky.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now, managed resistance is probably going to end here in the finish and the vanish category. But I'll tell you what, you're not going to get testimonials, referrals, and they're probably not going to come back because they really didn't feel like they had a profound change with what you were offering.
For sure. And then they probably haven't truly transformed and changed. And so if somebody asks what it was like to work with you, they're going to be like, it was okay, or not great, you know, because they didn't really transform.
Exactly. So you can see that when we're talking about resistance during client programs, if we're not able to manage the resistance, like almost a guaranteed terrible outcome in terms of your business, right?
This one is super insidious because we think we got to the finish line, but we didn't medal.
Exactly.
Like we not only did we not knock it out of the park, but it's just like it's insidious. It's really.
Yeah, and
we think we did it. But
as we were talking about, as prepping to be here with you today, it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
So these two levels of managing resistance and unmanaged resistance, it consumes so much energy that you're exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, it's not life-giving.
It's not life-giving, and it takes away your energy to really be able to serve the people that you love.
Yeah.
And be able to connect with the people that you really love.
Dude, I'm just thinking about some of the clients we've served who have been in these places, and they are people who are tired, but they're people who are like continually regenerating the same results that they don't like, and they don't know why.
Right.
Like for me, that's so it's not a great place to be because you don't even have the awareness, really.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's think about that idea of transformed resistance and no resistance sort of thing. Okay. We're going to come back to those in just a second. Okay. We're going to come back to those in a second. I want to go to the before and just chat about a couple of things. So the 4 basic ways that people start or come into a program with you is that, people might be saying, Ani, I read all about you. I read your book. I've followed you on LinkedIn. I've watched your videos. Like, I want to work with you. And when can we start? Cost doesn't matter.
Awesome. It's $5 million for a month.
Awesome. Like, I'm in. Okay. So
it's going to take you every single day. You're going to have to work 6 hours a day.
Totally in. Right. So you could have somebody be like all in at any cost. Okay. It doesn't matter. Like, I am in. Let's get started. Now, you could also have people that are 100% in. Ani, I love what you're doing. I'd love to work with you. I've watched your videos. I'm totally on board. And I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out how to come up with the money. Or or the timing might not be exactly right. I'm totally in though. Like I really want to do, I love what you're doing. I really want to do what you're doing. I'm totally in. And, you know, I'm having some money issues and some time issues. So that's that second category. Okay. So they're really totally in, authentically totally in. It's not just an excuse, and they're having some resistance just around signing on the dotted line. Okay. Now you could also have the category of maybe I'm in. I'm not 100% sure. I've watched a couple of your videos. Not really sure. Not really sure who you are. Sounds like I like what you're doing, but I'm not. You know, is the program right for? It's kind of like they're maybe in sort of thing. And then the other before is they're totally not in. And they could be like kicking tires. They could actually be prospecting for their own business.
Oh yeah.
Kind of thing. They're like, I want to know what you're doing because I kind of do the same thing, but I'm going to pretend that I'm buying from you and I'm interested because I want to figure out how you do it. Right. They could be prospecting. They could be kicking tires. They could just be wanting to get an argument. They could just want to co-opt your time because they think your time's not as for whatever reason, but they're really not in. And so you have to have a really good way to identify those people, because if you spend a lot of time trying to convert somebody who is simply not in, and if maybe some way, by some miracle, you actually get them to say yes to something that you're offering, you are guaranteeing yourself to be right here.
So true.
You're guaranteeing that. Even if they're a maybe, I have to tell you, even if they're a maybe in, and somehow you can convince them that you're taking a big chance. I'm not saying it's totally a guaranteed thing, but you're taking a big chance of where they could end up. Whether they could end up in unmanageable, whether they could end up in you're barely managing it sort of thing. Because if they're not 100% in, they're not really not 100% in, right?
It's rolling the dice.
Now, maybe by some miracle of chance, you can move them up here a little bit, sort of thing. So when we talk about really the best outcome, which is what we're looking for, right, Ani, is
one or a two.
One or a two right here. A lot of people, when I ask people, like, hey, what experience do you really want during a client engagement? When I say, hey, these are your 4 options, which one do you really want during a client engagement?
Oh yeah.
What do most people say?
Hands down, people say no resistance.
I want this
the way
one.
to go.
I want no resistance.
I want them to throw their credit card at me. Do you know how many times I've heard that? I want them to throw their credit card at me and say yes, 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 the whole time.
The whole way through.
Because we think that's what's going to get us number one.
They want to say yes, 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 yes. And I got to tell you something. In my personal experience, these clients can be a lot of fun to work with because they're always saying yes. And how many other people in your life always say yes to you, right? So that can be kind of addictive, I got to tell you.
Good point.
Kind of addictive to always have someone say yes, yes, yes all the time. Okay,
yeah.
So these are yes folks. And so it's not a totally bad thing. Like ego, it's kind of like ego stroking. It kind of does feel, it does feel kind of good, right?
Feels kind of good.
Feels
I was
good.
thinking the same E word. I just didn't want to say it out
okay,
loud.
Yeah, it does feel kind of.
It
does feel pretty good to be in that space. The trouble is, from my personal experience, Ani, you might be able to speak to this, but also the clients that we work with, like this oftentimes will end up in one of these. Well, you might get a 2.
I think you're being generous with a 2. It certainly could be.
Right, it could be a 2.
It certainly could be.
But oftentimes you end up down here.
And I'll tell you why that's really resonating with me is they're not going to be the people who you get a lot of referrals from.
Right.
You might get a testimonial. They probably aren't going to come back. They might, but they probably won't come back, but you're probably not going to get a bunch of referrals from them.
They're basically just going to go on to something else.
Yeah.
And something else.
Yes, somebody else.
And you know, here's the thing with those yeses. Really what we haven't, like if you're in a transformational space, if you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if you're working in human development, right? If you're really helping people make a change with what they're going on, there must be resistance there. There's no change without resistance. Now, the resistance doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be awful. It doesn't have to be hard, but it has to be there in order to fundamentally make a change. You must experience some sort of resistance.
Just think about this for yourself for a second. Think about a big transformation or change that you've made in your life, that you were a certain way, and on the other side, you were like, wow, I'm different. There was stuff in the middle, right? There's mountains to climb. There's mud puddles to get through. There's lakes to swim through.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing, gang. This is the sweet spot right here. This is the sweet spot. When we take someone through transformational resistance, you are guaranteeing yourself either ending up in a 1 or a 2 situation. It's practically guaranteed. Mm-hmm. I've seen very low percentages drop off from there. It's one of these two.
I've never seen it.
And if the people, again, if they don't resign, you are getting tested. You could say, hey, can you get a testimonial? They're like, oh my God, immediately. Like, what do you need? Yep. They'll send people to you, and they will definitely, you'll be the first person they call if they ever have a problem again. And if you create a new program, reach out to them, they're back in if it solves a problem that they're having.
Absolutely.
Sort of thing. Okay. So this is the crux of the situation here. Mm-hmm. Really, if we want to thrive during a recession or a coming up recession or a freak out period or a blip, whatever it is, we must be able to help people successfully transform their resistance. That guarantees a recurring pipeline of clients.
That is the number one thing right there. And you're going to notice, like, this is about gaining and retaining. So you're going to talk about it, I think, here right now. It's also in that client gaining place.
Exactly.
That's the thing. And we think that it's the person throwing their credit card at us.
Exactly. Yes. So this is the thing. When we ask people, what would you love to have in a before situation? Most people are like, I want people throwing their credit card at me, all in at any cost. I also have to admit, that is pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah. Right? Again, it feels great. You're like,
feels great. Yes. Feels great. Now, oftentimes these people, they'll end up being the people who have no resistance because they didn't have any resistance in the beginning.
Oftentimes,
not all the time. Oftentimes, if we really understand client work, really understand the work of change, we can help that person who's all in match up into their system to really help them find that deeper desire in them.
You know, when I see this all in at any cost to transforming resistance really show up, Brian, when people know that you're awesome at transforming resistance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When they know that, they've heard from friends or they've, or heard about you, and then they can be at this I'm all in no matter what stage, and they're really willing to bring their stuff to you because they really trust that you're going to be able to help them transform it. Boy, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. So we're not saying turn away people who are throwing their credit card at you. Like, no, say yes, come on in. And then really work your magic to help people uncover that resistance so that you can help them to fundamentally transform it. That's key. Mm-hmm. Now, be honest with you, if you find people, like if Ani, if you had to choose,
I love this.
Like where would you be?
I'll tell you why I love the sales resistant category. Here's why. So we don't do discovery calls in our business. We haven't for a very long time. And one of the reasons is if you show up and you're interested in our services and you do come with some resistance, I'm not going to say we coach you, but we have a powerful, influential conversation to help you figure out if this is a decision you really want to make or not. And people have transformations while we're in a sales conversation with them. Yep. Man, that is so good. The trust that develops with a person is awesome. And I'm not spending hours a week doing discovery calls or sample sessions. It like blows me away when a lot of people still recommend doing sample sessions. We just don't do that.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. When someone is 100% in and they have sales resistance, embrace that.
Yeah.
Because when you help, when
it's
you
such a
know
gift.
how to help somebody successfully navigate that, you've already started their transformation.
That's right.
You've already started it.
Their program has already started. It's so cool.
And they are already feeling the effect of working with you in a very, very powerful way. So where if they're all at any cost, hey, that's great too. In that case, we have to find a way to activate the resistance. And that could take a little bit of time, right? Especially if someone is really expert in their own right of deflecting resistance.
I wasn't paying attention to what you said, Brian. Can I tell you where my brain went?
Sure.
Thanks. The testimonials that you receive when you're great at helping somebody with sales resistance are so awesome because they say things like, I didn't believe in myself, and I did after talking with Brian. Like those say right there from a testimonial standpoint, it helps you actually, when you have testimonials from the sales resistant category, it helps you to get even more all in at any cost.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the sweet spot. So that's really the sweet spot, is that when someone is 100% in with the program authentically, and they have also authentic resistance to it. And you can expertly navigate that.
Is that what you said? Don't push people into it?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, I'm going to say
it. But that must know what you were thinking when you weren't listening.
Don't push people into it. Like I've seen that happen.
Right, you're trying to force the maybe.
Yes, and like, don't do that.
Right. Yeah, when you force the maybe, you end up.
Think about the dynamic you're setting up with a person.
For that, or you're asking for
baby,
that, right? You're asking
really
for the unmanageable or the barely managed, and it's going to be like a sufferfest for everybody.
Totally.
So we really want to embrace this place. We want to embrace this place right here. Where, and when I say embrace it, it's like when we see it, we're like, yes,
love it.
That's
love it.
That's where I get to go to do my best stuff. I get to do my best stuff
change
right
the
there.
World today.
So when I can take people from some sales resistance into a place of transformational resistance, I'm gonna have to change the color on my deal here.
Okay.
What color should I go with?
Green.
Green. Will it show up? Okay. So yeah, it's green light, right? So let's do that. This is the fastest path. These are the green lights. I love how you think, Ani. Yes, I love it. You're so amazing. All right. So when we come in here at the sales resistance and we embrace this, we've started the transformation, folks. We've started the transformation. And when we transform that resistance expertly, when we know how to meet the 4 ways that resistance shows up for all humans, we understand how to navigate every single one of those. There we go.
Yeah.
Right? We end up in a place. We got our number ones for sure guaranteed. And number 2s are also a great possibility from there. And we re-sign clients with ease.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen this time and time again.
Yeah.
In our own business and with the clients that we serve. Yeah.
So part of that, if you back up a little further, when you understand understand why people say yes to certain things and these levels, that just sets you up even more, right? Because when you really can understand who am I looking for that is going to be all in and potentially also have some resistance come up for them, know how to navigate that, we're off and running.
So we have created a PDF for you that you can click on. I highly suggest that you print it out and put it by your computer. So you can use this in 2 ways. And if you want to, I don't know if our outfits clash and you're creating any resistance for anybody watching. We are loud today.
Yeah, we're loud.
Yeah. So print out the PDF, put it in your computer. Here are 2 different ways you can use it. Number 1, just check yourself as you go throughout your day, whether you're in sales conversations or you're in client engagements, and just see where you are at on this scale. It's not a scale. In the table. Yeah. The other way you can do it is you can actually track your results over a few days. So let's say that you take it for a week and you print it out and you have it by your computer and you mark off when you're in these different places with people, when your people are in these places with you, and just give a tally. And at the end of the week, See where you have been at most often. It can be really, really telling to see if you have any leaks into those managed resistance, unmanaged resistance, to see what kind of conversations you're having on the before, and to see how things are ending up on the after. Get yourself some data, track your metrics on this and see what you're doing. So you can print out the PDF and keep it by your computer and do that. And if you want more help outsmarting resistance to change, we would love to have you at our course titled
Outsmart Resistance to Change.
Outsmart Resistance to Change, how to gain and retain ideal clients and team members. So join us for that. And you can find that at the Somatic Coaching Academy, www.somaticcoachingacademy.com. Thanks so much for joining us. This was so much fun.
So much fun.
And I hope it was really valuable for you.
Yep. Hope to see you in a training real soon.
Bye-bye.